Welcome to one of the most powerful vehicles that I think Wargaming have released for Cold War in a long time, and yeah, maybe our fears of yesterday's video have come true with this little absolute monstrosity that it is. And of course we are talking about the brand new Rock Crawler, which is essentially a tier or era 2 Cold War premium vehicle, and you can pick it up right now in the store, of course, as with all of the vehicles. But if you're interested in finding out how to take one of these things out, we'll also cover that in today's video, so stay tuned because we're going to find out all about this tank and why maybe you'd actually want to pick this one up if you're thinking about it. And straight off the bat, this thing has a 183mm cannon. Yep, 183mm. Now you might be thinking, what other vehicles have 183mm cannons? Well, it wouldn't happen to be the least balanced tank destroyer within the Western Alliance in Era 1, would it? It wouldn't be the FV4005. And you might be thinking, well, yeah, but this tank's now a tier up. It's got HE rounds, it's got, you know, AP rounds, and it's probably not going to be able to pen a whole lot. And that's exactly what I thought when I played this vehicle, and I'm entirely wrong. The standard round penetration of 390, if you're aiming for weak points and you come up against vehicles that you know how to pen, I mean simply just knowing a few weak points, will get you a massive way to working this tank really well. So yeah, there are HESH rounds, which of course are HE, which are absorbed by any spaced armor that you might come up against. And given that we're in Era 2 with this tank, yeah, there's plenty of tanks that also have spaced armor, but there's also plenty of tanks that don't have spaced armor. So there's always the potential to load up those HESH rounds to be able to get an extra 300 damage. But of course that's down to whether or not you decide to go with that. And one thing that I didn't realise would be so good about this vehicle is that, as you can see in the right hand side, we have a view range of 607 meters. Now you might be thinking, yeah, okay, cool. There's plenty of other vehicles in this era that also have good view range and could probably get up to about 560, most tanks in general, and some tanks can get even higher. But what's crazy about this tank is the still concealment. You can see 184 meters still concealment with this vehicle, and we are not even running this with advanced optics either. So yeah, you could imagine how good at spotting and being able to remain undetected this vehicle is, and when you can deal so much damage in one shot, this vehicle becomes absolutely horrible to play against, and it's just so easy to rack up a lot of damage. Combine that with the fact that it's 56 kilometers an hour top speed is actually not too bad, and it may feel a little bit restrictive in some regards, but we'll get into that in the gameplay as we go through later on in the video. But of course we're then running it with advanced loader for increased DPM and improved ventilation for increased damage per minute and accuracy buffs, since you can't use vertical stabilizers on this thing. Other options that you could potentially use, obviously we're using Caminet. I mean, you could swap this out, you don't have to have it. It's just because I was running low on silver until we started playing this tank and ended up with, you know, 6 million. But advanced concealment is of course a decent piece of equipment. As you can see, really does reduce the detectability, and that keeps you hidden throughout the entire game basically, unless you make some misplays or of course a light tank decides to YOLO you, which does happen. It is Cold War after all. But regardless of all of that, the other equipment you can use, I would recommend, is either to go for some speed boost equipment. Maybe you want to go for traction system to make it a little bit faster. You could potentially go with advanced optics, but you know, at the end of the day, optics or concealment, it's down to you, and preferably I'd use concealment because view range just becomes redundant after a period of time. So yeah, concealment's always nice to have. Or alternatively, going with advanced reload to be able to swap between your ammunition. Now, on a tank like this, it's probably less imperative than on the FV4005 and the 183 or the 215B 183 in World War II, because yeah, I mean, you very rarely are going to be able to pen things with 300 pen that don't have spaced armor in this kind of matchup, or at least this era. Yes, there are tanks, light tanks, etc., but for me, I'd much rather have the overall bonuses of some of the other equipment, which is what we've done, but it's there for those of you that are interested in other setups, and feel free to experiment and let me know how you're running this tank in the comment section. But that allows us to have 0.28 accuracy, 4,200 DPM. We do have a power to weight ratio of about 20, which is very good. You have hull rotation and turret traverse that is pretty good as well. And overall, this tank just feels really nice. 8 degrees of gun depression is absolutely fine, or 10 degrees even. 8 degrees of elevation is a little bit limiting, but I didn't find it too bad within the games that I did play. So you just have to be aware of it when you are playing this tank. But yeah, really fun one to play. I really enjoyed it, and I think you guys will as well if you do decide to get this thing in the game. And it is borderline very good. And I don't want to say it's overpowered, I don't want to say it's broken, because yes, it is really powerful. It is a very good tank, in my opinion. At least, and of course you can check out some of the other reviews from people like Ricky and of course Vishor. There's loads of different World of Tanks console YouTubers that you can have a look at as well, and I recommend doing that before you spend £40 on a tank. Probably have a look from different people, but yeah, from my opinion, I think it's a very good tank and a very competitive one at that. So without further ado, we've talked enough about what this tank is theoretically like. Let's actually show what it can do in the battle, and hopefully you'll enjoy. Kicking off today's video, we do have the rock crawler playing on Hell's Highway, which is kind of interesting because the new Monster Mash game mode is actually available for you guys to actually jump in and play with all of your monster tanks. And you'll see as soon as you log in, you'll see all of the awakened vehicles have started popping up if you've owned any of the Halloween themed tanks, and you'll be able to play those in that game mode as well. And we'll be doing a video on it just to see what it's like, and of course testing out some really weird things, and maybe we'll do a stream on Friday where we actually have a go on the mode live with you guys, maybe platooning up with a couple of you who are of course channel members as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what you guys obviously think about the mode. Have you been playing it recently? Have you played it now? Let me know. What you can see here, we get into an early game position. I'm going to try and defend the cap from this side. This is, of course, basically highway, but with weird spawns. I mean, one team spawns in the town, the other team spawns in the field. And to all intents and purposes, we probably got the worst spawn because they get the field, they get the town, which is basically just better because they get cover on the cap circle. So if, you know... if they want to actually cap us out, they have to go into the open field, which is not ideal. But that means that when we start off, we're open and basically exposed to all of the tanks on the enemy team who are going to be in the town, and they can shoot across the map with the basically increased kind of vision that you can actually get within Cold War. So essentially you can see literally across the entire map basically. Now, here we go. The first YOLO wagon of today comes in the form of the Sheridan, thinking he's absolutely funny, and you can see he's trying to basically circle me, but I'm not a complete idiot, so, you know, this guy could have really farmed me, but decides he's not going to do that by just keep on going around in the same clockwise direction. He could quite easily go in a different direction, and he would have been better to do that. Now, unfortunately, we lose half of our hit points in every shot, so we're left on only 200 hit points left. And this is a bit of a pain, but you know, we're not a complete bot, so we're able to finish him off. It's just a shame that he was able to YOLO so hard, given that there were a few teammates that would have been able to hit him, but I guess they're preoccupied with some of the other tanks. Now, this is where I'm really relying on my team to help me out. Now, the bandit is, of course, YOLOing towards me to try and finish me off, because, you know, bandit things. But what we're using is, of course, this giant telephone mast, or, I don't even know, electricity mast, or whatever it might be, electricity pylon, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's even a water tower, actually, by the looks of things. Yeah, definitely not an electricity tower. Anyway, moving swiftly on with 5,000 damage done and 1,700 assists. That Bandit actually gets taken out by the team, which is nice, but we do have quite a few vehicles on the enemy team still left alive, and we do try and get a bit of extra damage on some of these tanks that are left alive, like this Tyran 6. Now, we knew that he got spotted and we could hit him, so we go for a YOLO shot, and there you go. An extra 1250 damage, basically. Nice 6.2k damage with 1700 assist. And can we make it one more? Now, this is not an ideal scenario, at least for me, because yes, there are 3 vehicles left on the enemy team, but they're all full health, so we can't just go in, one-shot one of them and leave again. We would probably likely take at least 1 hit, if not 2, which is of course not what we're after. So what we'll do here is we will wait for the enemy team to actually expose themselves, or for example them to lose enough health that we can pop over, we can deal 1 shot of damage and pop back over the ridge to avoid any more potential damage as well. So the team are kind of YOLOing over, don't quite know why they don't all go at once, and of course we have 4 light tanks on our team all ready to go in, and of course one of them gets taken out there, the 934. Now the rock crawler is looking in the wrong direction, but there are 3 vehicles and any one of them could snap me as I come over this ridge. Now the BMP here, he's got that the missile launcher, and of course we got high alpha as well, so I'm just waiting for them to make a bit of a misplay here by going in, and then we can capitalize on it. So the BMP goes in, that gives us a little bit of time. We decide to finish off the most dangerous of those tanks, which is of course the rock crawler, so we get 1 into him, and then we can take a long reload. Now we do have a fairly long reload in this thing. You're about 16 to 18 seconds dependent on whether you're using consumables or not, and we get 1 into the back of our friend there, but this Magash 6B Galbatash is of course going to finish us off, and ends up having a ridiculous game by just basically farming all of the YOLO wagons who keep going over 1 by 1, and I guess we fell into that category, but at least we dealt 2 shots of damage during this and finished off a couple of vehicles that were a little bit dangerous, picking up over 8,000 damage, and of course nearly 1,700 assistance as well. So a nice little 9,700 combined damage, which is yeah, fairly decent for this tank, and it was quite consistent at being able to do over 6k, that's for sure, which is very, very nice indeed. And it was really, really fun to actually play, which is a bonus when you consider that a lot of premium tanks, if they're overpowered or very, very good, can feel a little bit boring. This one definitely doesn't feel like it. It's just like a really solid hitting tank that feels really cool when you're just derping people for, you know, 1,200 or 1,400 or, you know, up to 1,700 if you're loading HE. But I mean, doing that in Cold War doesn't really work. So let's jump into the next one. And the next one then comes in the form of Hellfire Pass, or Scorpion Pass as it was originally known. And essentially this map relies on you basically kind of being very opportunistic with the tank with high alpha and a long reload. We can't really be too aggressive in this game. We have a 16.3 second reload, which is very, very good in the way that we set up this tank. We have of course got a 9 skill crew, so there's that. So we are kind of kitted out to the 9s, I guess. And with yeah, our Hesh rounds being very, very powerful as well, maybe we can get off a few of those in this game, but we'll have to wait and see. But having moved up to this location, I was hoping maybe we could find ourselves a little blind vehicle that we could hit for free for a nice little 1,200 damage. But unfortunately, nothing seems to be appealing to us right now. And so rather than sitting back there, I want to kind of push up, do something, and if we can get up into the location over to my right on the hill, maybe we can open up a few shots that can end up working quite well, but we'll have to wait until we get there. Now, when you are playing tanks like this, and this is a general rule, you have to play relatively passively at the beginning stages of the game. And that is going to give you much better results in the later stages. Now that might seem like the most obvious thing in the game, because of course when you have high alpha you can finish off tanks really easily in the late game, and that's really nice to be able to essentially just feel like you can impact the game at the late stage and be able to like secure a victory where maybe the enemy team might think that they're going to win. Now then, that's our first bounce, and it was of course off the T-72AV, which has a lot of spaced armor, and I'm not really that surprised that we did end up bouncing off of him. It is what it is, but of course, we do see ourselves a little light tank here. We try and go for the shot, but unfortunately miss, which is not ideal whatsoever. And maybe he'll try and crop up later on as we move through this battle in the autoloading rocket vehicle for Cold War. Now then, the Magash 6B Galbatash does actually expose himself, and there you go, our first shot of the game, 1,100 damage done. No, Mr. Magash, it's not today that you're going to be able to take us out again. So, the T-72 AV, obviously out in the open, there's a bandit out in the open, we go for a little shot here. It's a badly aimed shot. I was, yeah, I don't know where I was aiming for that one, but apparently nowhere near the target is where we were actually aiming, and there you go, a little AMX-13 SS11 TCA. Now this is not a good situation. If this guy decides he's going to YOLO me, I do not have the reload to be able to reload twice here. So, you know, we've got to be on the aggressive a little bit, such that, you know, we get one shot off, pull back, and basically increase the length of the engagement. We get lucky to set him on fire here. He hits us for nice little 1200 as well, but we set him on fire for the majority of his hit points, and then our teammate comes in to try and help us out here and ends up actually trying to finish him off, at least hopefully within this game. But there is still some vehicles left alive, like this T-72 AV, and we don't make the mistake of bouncing again. So he is gone from this game really nicely, picking up 4,000 damage so far, but there's still plenty of damage left in this game, and if we can just basically open up a few shots, we should be able to deal it. Now, I'm trying to go for a little bit of a lucky shot there. It doesn't end up hitting, which kind of sucks, but I guess it is what it is. I should have really pulled back down the hill straight away here, but we didn't end up doing that, and we actually get hit here. Luckily not taking that huge hit which seems to come in, and maybe we'll find out what exactly fired at us there. It seemed like it was an AP round, so not a Hesh round, but maybe it's from another vehicle like me. But of course you can see here, this guy's out in the open. We get one free one into him, and he's feeling a little bit worse for wear. He's still there, and there's also a tank to his left, but we can't see him because he's behind the bush. Now I could blind fire this bush, but I don't really want to waste a shell in case I don't manage to hit him, and maybe someone else crops up that we could hit. Now, in doing so, we end up actually seeing that the enemy tank has moved up, and then we fling over, and it ends up being the rock crawler on the enemy team, the same tank as what we're in. So we shut him down, which is great, and that allows us to now start moving up, because the team seem like they're going to try and throw this game as hard as possible, and we want to make sure that we actually end up winning. If we could possibly do that, that would be fantastic. Now we have 3 people in the cap. They're all trying to cap. There's 9 seconds left. Uh-oh, one of them has been reset, if not 2 of them. Uh-oh, another person's been taken out. Uh-oh, another person's been taken out, and there you go. There's only 1 left in the cap against 3 vehicles, and there you go. They are all taken out. So quickly, with a hurry, our team is suddenly down by 4 vehicles, and there seems to be a medium tank who's decided that YOLOing in was a great idea as well. And let me just say, it's not a good idea. So, as all players in this game, I think that I'm obviously way too good than I am. So, you know, we end up actually trying to push similar to what that medium tank did. A little less aggressively, because, yeah, I don't really fancy dealing with 8 tanks all at once, because, you know, that could potentially happen. So what we do is we push up to here. Now here is where I stop, because when you think you're as good as you are, then yeah, you might overestimate your abilities, and maybe I do that in this game, but trust me, it happens to literally everyone in the game. Literally everyone. And you think that you can do something that you definitely can't, and you end up getting punished for it. But in coming up here, my aim was to basically just use the ridge line, use the 10 degrees of gun depression to kind of poke over, get rid of some of these tanks as we go, and see what ends up happening. Now you can see me using the 3rd person view to see when the enemy tanks start to push up. Now I'm a bit scared that someone's going to come from behind me, but hopefully we can finish off this Magash. We take a little bit of a fully aim to a degree, and we hit him there, which is nice. 6,800 damage done, and we've also got the support of the FV211, the most broken Era 2 vehicle, or at least the most armoured Era 2 vehicle in the game. And oh, for God's sake, it's an RDF, the auto-loading light tank, but bye-bye! We end up taking him out quick, fast, and in a hurry. But with 8,000 damage done, oh, for God's sake, the Brennis comes around at the exact moment that we didn't want him to come around, and we wouldn't have been reloaded anyway. Maybe we could have bounced a shot if we were looking directly at him, but unlikely with the armor model that this tank has. And yeah, we end up just under 8,000 damage in this game. But we have a little FE4211 who I don't know how, but ends up coming away with a victory in this game. I genuinely have no idea how this happens, but I guess it ends up just being one of the typical Colabanos medals that you'd expect in a 1 versus 5. So congratulations to the FE4211 for carrying my little ass within this game, and of course having a brilliant game himself, picking up about 6,000 damage, I believe, within the game, which we can actually skip ahead to. The victory ends up capping at the end to try and secure the victory, and of course that's what we love to see. And there you go, the victory screen coming up in just a second, which is lovely to see. And yeah, I'll be interested to see what you guys actually think about this tank. Of course, we pick up a ton of silver in both of these games, nearly 500,000 in both, which is nice. And of course, it has that 55% silver bonus as well. We pick up, 1,250 base XP in this one with 8,000 damage basically, and 3 enemies taken out as well. So yeah, hopefully that was an interesting one for this vehicle. Let me know what you think. Is it overpowered? Is it too good? Is it just right? Do you think they actually balanced it fairly well, considering it has one of the biggest guns in the game? Yeah, let me know. And of course, let me know any questions you might have about the tank, how you'd set it up. I am more than happy to try and answer some of them in the comment section, as I'm sure some of you will try and answer them as well. I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Hopefully you have a fantastic rest of the day. I'll see you there. Goodbye.